Have you ever built something for someone, put your heart into it, only to realize at the very end that it's not what they actually wanted? It's a sinking feeling, right? Well, today we're going to explore how to avoid that by learning how to deeply understand what people truly need before we even start creating. So let's get into it. Just imagine creating what you think is the perfect gift for a friend. You've spent time, you've spent thought, but when they open it, you see that polite smile. You know the one that says, "Oh, thank you," but their eyes are saying something completely different. Yeah, we've all been there. Let's use an example. Say you decide to build a custom study desk for your friend. In your head, it's perfect. Sleek, minimalist, made of a light wood with a really clean lines. It's a beautiful idea, designed for focus and clarity, a perfect space for a modern student. But here's the thing you didn't know. Your friend studies best when they feel cozy, when they're surrounded by their resources. They weren't dreaming of some minimalist masterpiece. They were dreaming of a warm, wooden desk with built-in shelves for all their books, maybe a little nook for a warm drink, and a soft light for those long nights of work. This gap, this massive canyon between our brilliant idea and their unspoken reality, well, that's the single biggest challenge in any creative project. And, in software engineering, this isn't about a slightly awkward gift. This exact same gap can cause projects to completely fail, cost millions of dollars, and end up solving problems that nobody actually has. So, the professional practice of closing that gap actually has a name. It's called requirements elicitation and analysis. It's really just a structured way of listening. It's the art of understanding it needs so deeply that what you build feels less like an invention and more like an answer to a question someone was just waiting to ask. So, how do we even start closing that gap? Well, it always begins with people. Before you can figure out what to build, you have to deeply understand who you're building for. This is really the foundational principle here. The what is just a consequence of the who. I mean, if we had started by understanding our friend, their habits, their personality, the right kind of desk would have become pretty obvious. The same exact thing is true for any project. In the professional world, we call these people stakeholders. It's basically anyone with a stake in how the project turns out. For our desk, your friend is the main stakeholder, the user. But think about it. Their roommate who has to share the space, also a stakeholder. Now, take a look at the slide. On the left are the stakeholders for the desk, and you can see how perfectly they map to a real software project on the right. The end user is your friend, the system admin is kind of like the roommate, and the business managers, they're the ones with the budget. And as you can see here, the list of potential stakeholders can get surprisingly long. Of course, you have the end users who will use the thing every day, but you also have business managers focused on the bottom line, the IT staff who have to maintain it, and even the support staff who are going to be fielding questions later. Every single one of them has a unique and valid perspective on what success actually looks like. This quote really gets to the heart of it. This whole process is built on a very simple admission that we, as the creators, just don't have all the answers. It's a humble place to start, admitting our own blind spots so we can really try to see from someone else's perspective. All right, so we know who we need to talk to. That brings us to the next big challenge. How do we actually listen? And believe me, it's much more of an art than it is a science. I mean, if you just ask your friend, "Hey, what kind of desk do you want?" they might not even know how to answer. Or they might forget to mention the bookshelf because to them, a desk without one is just unimaginable. People often can't perfectly explain their needs, and they'll leave out the very details that seem the most obvious to them. Experts have actually categorized these challenges into a few key areas, which you can see on the slide. You've got problems of scope, where nobody's really sure where the project begins or ends. Problems of understanding, which we just talked about. And then there are problems of volatility, which is just the reality that needs change over time. The key thing to see here is that these aren't separate issues. They're all symptoms of that communication gap that we need to bridge. So how do we bridge it? Well, we have some really powerful techniques. We can do open-ended interviews, just driven by genuine curiosity. We can use observation. There's a fancy word for it, ethnography, which really just means you go and immerse yourself in someone's world. I mean, watching your friends study for just 1 hour would teach you so much more than they could ever tell you. We could also hold collaborative meetings or build a simple prototype, like a little cardboard model of the desk, to make the idea real and get that instant, honest feedback. This quote just perfectly captures the goal. Notice those active words: identify, propose, negotiate. This isn't about passively taking notes. It's about a shared journey to understand the real problem and then work together to shape a solution that works for everyone. Okay, so you've figured out who the stakeholders are, and you've used these deep listening techniques. What you have now is probably not a neat blueprint. It's probably something a lot more chaotic. And you know what? That's a good thing. The final step is all about turning that chaos into clarity. You'll have a pile of sticky notes, pages of interview notes, and a bunch of observations. Your friend wants shelves. Their roommate is worried about the desk taking up too much room. The person paying wants to keep the material cost low. And yeah, a lot of these needs are going to directly conflict with each other. And this slide really illustrates the path forward. It's a clear 4-step process. First, you discover all the different needs. Then you organize them into related groups. Maybe one pile for storage, another for size. Next, and this is probably the most critical part, you prioritize and negotiate. You get everyone together to find a compromise. Like, hey, can we do smaller shelves to save space and cost? And finally, you document what's been agreed on, so everyone has a single, shared vision to work from. But it's almost never a straight line. As you can see here, it's really a cycle. You might document a plan, build a quick prototype, and in doing that, you discover a totally new need. So you go back, you listen again, and you refine. You keep spiraling closer and closer to a solution where every single stakeholder feels like they've won. So let's bring this all together. After talking about all this, what's the one single thing to take away from our little dive into requirements analysis? It's this. This isn't just a box to check off on a project plan. It is a fundamental mindset. It's choosing to create, not from a place of already knowing, but from a place of genuine curiosity about the people you're trying to serve. It's a real commitment to empathy. If you remember nothing else from our chat today, remember this. The quality of what you build is a direct reflection of the quality of your listening. Always listen first, then build second. And so I'll just leave you with this thought. Think about your own work, your own relationships. What problem, big or small, could you begin to solve? Not by coming up with some brilliant new idea, but simply by choosing to truly listen first. Thanks for joining me for this.